All right, we're looking at the new moon in Scorpio coming in on November the 1st. First of all, I'm going to be talking about the significance of the Scorpio archetype, Scorpio season, then moving into a bit of numerology as we approach a very powerful month of 11, the 11th month, but also a universal 19-1. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to almost come to a bit of a conclusion as well as far as what's happened over the last year arriving to this point, because this year has been a very significant year, knowing that we also are in a universal year 8. And it's very important to remember we are winding down from it. We are slowly moving into a 9, which I already recorded a video on. I highly suggest watching the potential of 2025 and also personal year numbers for 2025 as well. But as we slowly are going to experience an overlap of energy from 2024 moving into 2025, there's going to be a little bit of a handoff between the 8 and the 9. So we've been in a year of 2024, universal year 8, where we've had, it's been it's been a handful of a year. There's been a lot of friction. There's been a lot of evolution. A lot of us have been going through awakenings, healing processes, deepening our practice, becoming more empowered, becoming more aligned. Now, that is a little bit of what 8 does offer. When we are aligned, when we have gone through transformation and even worked on practices that will help us understand ourselves more, we will naturally find our center. We will naturally become more aligned when we do this deep dive. And that does have a very positive effect working with the 8 for manifestation. So, however, if you've manifested this year, everyone has their own personal year number, I have to preface, right? So the universal year 8 is more of a collective energy, is something of a theme that many of us will experience to some degree. It's more of a collective tone, but we're moving into a year 9 in 2025 at about the November mark, where we're going to slowly move into a year of endings. Now, this is on a collective level. You're going to have your own personal year number, which I highly suggest looking into. And this month in November is where you're going to start to see these 2 years overlap in some kind of way. The year of 2024 for you, the theme that you have been experiencing, and then what is coming up. What is the theme for you? What do you feel like you're going to be experiencing in 2025? As I mentioned, in 2025, we are moving into a universal year 9, which does have a significant theme of endings. Now, endings is not just a blanket statement. It is part of it, but through the dimensions of endings. Now, this can be loss. This can be understanding our attachments to things, to people, to fear, to stories of the past, to what has worked, what hasn't worked, maybe ego state. What do we need to let go of? What needs to die off for us to become more awakened, for us to be more free, for us to be more connected with unconditional love? This leads us to transcendence. Now, this whole path of self-actualization, of understanding ourselves more, of going through these depths, the highs, the lows, and everything in between, allows us to understand and dissect ourselves more. And this is the Scorpionic archetype. This archetype of Scorpio allows us to turn pain into freedom, into power. It allows us to understand our deepest, darkest wounds, or even our deepest, darkest secrets, in a way to see them and understand them and accept them. We go through these highs and lows in life. These are the contrasts for us to understand the different aspects of our being, for us to understand our shadow, for us to understand what is hiding under the surface that we need to look at. Now, this season, moving into Scorpio season, is all about the shadow. It's all about our psyche. It's all about transmutation. It's all about the death and rebirth, an essential part of the year. Why I like Scorpio season as we move into a year 9 is because we are now pushed into an aspect of ourselves, or pushed into a cycle of transmutation, of death and rebirth, of even reflecting inward within ourselves as to what needs to be looked at for letting go, for release, for healing, for even self-actualization or self-awareness. So we can understand what changes we need to make in our lives, what we may need to literally let go of, even a fear, which is a good place to start. Fear of attachments. Now, this is the duality of attachment and freedom. Where do we gain freedom from? What do we need to let go of in order to attain a sense of freedom? Now, freedom can be freedom of self, freedom of fear, the confines of our false limiting beliefs, freedom of other aspects in our 3D world. We're going to move into Sagittarius season next. So just remember the pathway that this takes us on. This is a stage, a stop, where we get to sink into our psyche, where we get to sink into our deeper self, where we get to sink into our senses, awaken our senses, to dissect maybe aspects within ourselves, but also within relationships, within the world, within life itself. It can be also a painful time of the year, sometimes, in a way, so that we can turn our pain into power, so that we can become more aware, so that we can transform. This is the cycle of death and rebirth. It's the rise of the phoenix, which is another archetype of the Scorpio trait. So we have a lot of power to work with. We still have a bit of the universal year 8 in effect, which is very, very strong with Scorpio. I did record a video quite a while ago on the most powerful zodiac and numerology archetypes, the most powerful pairings, and I did pair 8 with Scorpio for the most powerful pairing. 8 also is Scorpio's house sign, so it does have a significant correlation there, especially with regards to power. 8 is just naturally a very powerful number, a very powerful archetype, so the two together can create quite a lot of change in one's life. Now remember, the 8 on its side is the infinity sign, and everything is in motion. What we put out is what we get back. And this is as in our mind, what we are putting out there. If it's fear, if it's worry, if it's sadness, if it's anger, there's going to be some kind of repercussion if it's within our body, if it's within our interpersonal relationships, if it is within what we are manifesting or unable to manifest, if it is our ability to find peace in the present moment or our ability to create turmoil and destruction within our present moment. Now, this all stems from our level of awareness that we have deep within ourselves, deep within the darkest recesses of our being. And this season does allow us to explore this within ourselves. Many of you may also be familiar with Samhain. It is summer's end, also Halloween in modern times, where the veil becomes thin between the dimensions of reality, of worlds. This is where also you may be feeling very sensitive to your psychic abilities or intuition, or even if you are engaging in any kind of practices of understanding your family lineage, connecting with your family bloodlines, or even those who have crossed over. My grandmother actually did pass away on Halloween. So it is a very special time of the year because we were very close, and I find it very symbolic that she actually did end up passing on this day. So if you do want to even spend some time before going into the new moon, dropping into the connection, honoring your lineage, honoring your family, honoring those you love or those who you've known who may have crossed over, and even just the relationship with the understanding of our lives being multidimensional, our lives being more than the physical body. This also can allow us to understand the process of death and rebirth, all the different aspects of our cycles of life, and becoming very attuned with this part of our cycles. So moving into November, I'm going to cover numerology first, and then I'm going to go into the significance of this new moon. So we're going into a universal month number 19 in November. This is a karmic debt number. 19 signifies an island unto oneself, meaning it is a crucial time to reflect on your own level of personal power, if it is suppressed or if it is over dominating others in the context of social environments or interpersonal relationships. It is important to be self-sufficient and to be an ownership of self, to have self-agency, but also understanding your power in relation to others. There can be a misuse and abuse of power. There can also be a limitation and a suppression of power. Thus, in any of those dynamics can limit oneself from engaging with others or having healthy relationship dynamics. This is also where people can tend to go on their own completely, but we do need others to lean on, to work with, and for support even. We are, in a way, coming to a time, I feel, where relationships are there's an opportunity to strengthen relationships. There's an opportunity, and this also ties into the South Node in Libra, that we're still in, but it's slowly starting to transition out, where I feel, given the South Node in Libra, we do have an opportunity to strengthen relationships and bring people closer in however level of comfort it feels right for individuals. This karmic debt number is very useful to work with. It's very difficult because it can drive people into being over powerful, over dominating, or on the flip side, becoming very individualistic and withdrawn from society and from others. On either side of the spectrum, that is how we learn. This is where we are able to reflect and make some changes. Now, because it's a karmic debt number, it means it may require a little bit of extra work to overcome this particular challenge within. However, we are supported still by that South Node in Libra, which does have a very strong correlation with the aspects of relationships. Because we had a big significant change with that South Node in Libra, with the aspect of relationships with a lot of us, new relationships coming in. Now, if you have experienced new relationships coming in, they're going to be very important. They're going to offer a new cycle. This could be love relationships, business partnerships, friendships, even a change in family dynamics. It's going to basically reset something in your life in that landscape. Now, because we have this 19 in November, it could be valuable to reflect on your sense of worth, your power, because also too, Scorpio is a very powerful archetype. Scorpio in a shadow side can be very dominating, can be overpowering, can be very pushy, can be very controlling, can be very rigid and fixed, like a lot of the fixed signs out there, can be very obsessive and manipulative, and also very hard on people, and sometimes even a bit vengeful in certain situations. Now, this is the dark shadow side of Scorpio. It doesn't apply for everyone, of course, but there are potentials for these aspects to be awakened during this time for us to look at. Now, because it is a very powerful archetype, Scorpio is one of the most powerful archetypes in the zodiac calendar. It also was previously ruled by Mars. Now it is Pluto. Those are two of the top most powerful planets in our solar system. So we have a lot of energy to work with in the month of November. Not to mention that November is an 11th month, which is a master number. And this master number is also the most intuitive number in numerology. It allows us to connect with our higher self, also being that conduit from the higher planes into the physical world. So you may be that much more attuned to your higher self, to intuitive messages. Listen softly. Listen softly to the subtle nudges, to what you might be picking up on, to your intuition, to your senses, to your feelings and messages. This month can be one of those months where you may receive a lot of downloads, information, intuitive hits, even creative ideas. This is a very, very strong energy to work with as we move into the month of November, especially. And on the 1st, we have the new moon in Scorpio, which is a beautiful, beautiful start to the month on the 1st. Very symbolic. The 1 is all about leadership, power, initiation. We do have a month 1 because 19, the karmic debt number, equals a 1. It does equal 10 if you add the 9 and the 1, and then the 1 and the 0 equals a 1. So we do have this natural 1 energy in effect for the month of November. So if you felt for some reason in October things were slow, there may have been stalls, there may have been delays and things put on hold, or maybe just even confused about direction, November might move the needle a little bit. We are also having Pluto move into Aquarius. For many of you, you might have a sense of relief with that news. So naturally, I feel for many of us, November could be an opener, a very significant opener, which I actually have to reflect back onto the full moon in Aries. I do feel that full moon was an opener. If you were working with the energy of this full moon, if you were working with it, you could have created a very significant opening during that full moon. A lot of us in the hive were working on our meditations. It was beautiful, and I very much sensed quite a significant opening and shift around that full moon in Aries. So that was a powerful full moon leading us now into the new moon in Scorpio, where we can set intentions. Now we are back on with our manifestation practices, where we can become very clear and come from a place of being very attuned and very aware and in our power about what we want to initiate. That is the power of the 1, initiation. It is more of a masculine archetype. It is connected with the sun. So it does have a bit of the masculine traits, but use that to your advantage. How can you be bold and daring? Where do you need to be maybe bold and daring? How can you take the lead? This is all about innovation, creativity, your personal power and potency, what you want to step into, what you want to create, what you want to initiate, maybe stepping out of your comfort zone. We still have, again, a little bit of this North Node in Aries in effect. So where do you feel that your soul is drawing you towards? Make it happen. This could be the last final little bit here that we're working with within October, November, and maybe a little tiny bit in December, where we can really push forward. We've gone through a big shift this last few months where we can now just really start to see the results of what we've been going through. I know it's been hard for many of us. I know it's been a tough month. There has been a lot of shifting and changing, a lot of highs and lows, but now you could be able to see some of the results even on your personal within your personal landscape, maybe in how you're reacting to certain situations. Maybe that's changed. Maybe your sense of self, how you're feeling within yourself, maybe a new sense of self, feeling empowered to take the lead, maybe awakening new senses and new realizations, your intuitive gifts, intuitive hits, and ready to do something with that, ready to open up to a new experience, a new life. Whatever it is that you feel called to, now is a very good time to set those intentions and dig into your inner power, because November is going to have, I feel, a very significant theme of power to it. Remember, we have an 11 month. We have a universal month number 19, which equals a 1. So we do have a root number of 1. It is all about leadership, initiation, new beginnings. And then we also have the moon on the 1st. So that is a big lineup. If you want to go 1, 1, 11, then that's a good way to go. So this new moon, set those intentions, be very clear about what you want to initiate. Connect with your intuition, connect with your higher self, sit in silence, meditate if you feel called to, connect with your body, connect with your heart, and get a sense of what you want to create, where you want to go, the changes you want in your life, what you feel drawn to, and then devise a plan of how to make it happen. This is a very, very powerful energy to work with. Also, too, I have my new moon journals available on my website. They are beautifully done. There are a lot of affirmations, journal prompts, and rituals customized to the Scorpio archetype. All archetypes, actually, in fact, are in this booklet. They are available on my website. I will leave a link below as well. And I'm wishing you all the best during this incredible, powerful, potent new moon in Scorpio. Take care.